position.
Okay, I'm in.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Hang on just a sec. For some reason, my camera is not working. You guys hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, good. All right. Well, let me see why my camera's decided not to work. I'm going to come out and come back in, Jackie. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
Dave?
I'm not going to talk to you. So I'm going to bathroom. So
Hold on one second.
Oh, you did it? Oh.
That one of me?
Hi,
You have to
Danielle.
Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm well.
I was
You
like-
figured it.
I was like, did I do it right?
You did. You
Okay,
got
so-
here.
However, we will mute and turn my camera off.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Oh.
You don't want
We have a dog. But you snuck up on him. Here, I'll let you through. There he is. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. There you go. Hudson, leave her alone.
Hi, Jackie.
This is James Meyer. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, James?
Very, very nice. I'm just gonna kind of just what I am that I'm gonna check out and listen to
Great.
everything going on. Thank you so much for everything you do on all these things.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, Liz.
Hey,
Good to see you.
good to see you.
We just have quick waves as you drive past me.
Yes.
Okay, Jackie, I think I did it. Can you hear me?
I can.
Excellent. Okay, I need to change my speaker real quick. Okay. And I'm going to turn my camera on. Okay. You are not completely unmuted. I can hear something. Did you go do your laptop down at the bottom? Little speaker. I'm just helping. So you got to mute your speaker there too. You got to like click it to mute it because if you just turn down the volume, it doesn't work. Jackie, can we do a sound test real quick?
Sure.
Okay, that works. And Chris, can you do a sound test real quick?
Test,
You hear Chris?
Yes.
test.
Okay, perfect. All right. You should have share capability and all that stuff.
Yep, looks like it.
Okay.
And I have a phone that ending in 24. Can you tell me who you are?
Hi, it's Pam. Pam Green.
All right. Thanks, Pam.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning to you.
It's a big gardening day. The sun's out.
Yeah. And Dan, I don't think we've met, Dan Gorski. And I don't have you on the member list. So I'm going to encourage you to go to NKN CAC and get signed up if you would, please. Not this minute, but
Pam, might I suggest that you mute your phone?
I did press my mute button.
Are you in the meeting still? Are you sure?
you're
I think
in.
it's just quiet.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, I don't see you on the screen.
I'm the one with the fancy.
Oh, yeah, you, okay. Got it. Okay.
I want to convert myself back to the CEO.
Got it. Okay.
And do post just a future version.
Okay, it's the magic hour. So I'm gonna call the meeting to order and want to welcome everybody. This is our second NKN CAC general meeting, which is very exciting. And I've got a few things to ask of you right off the bat. Would you please sign in if you haven't already with your first and last name so we know who's attending? And if there are two of you, please put both names. And would you please turn your video off so we can improve reception for everybody unless you're speaking. And that normally helps. The most important thing is to
Jackie,
mute
sorry, but you said turn on your video. I think you meant audio.
turn off your video unless you're speaking, and then you can turn it back on. It helps
Video or
reception.
audio?
Audio's coming. This is video.
So turn off our
Yeah.
cameras? Oh,
Yeah, if everybody's got their cameras on, it can make the reception difficult for some folks.
I'm an idiot. Oh,
It's
Turn to
okay if you can't figure it out, Liz. And then,
No.
and
There.
then last
I
but
did it.
not least,
I did it.
is to turn your mute button to mute yourself. Otherwise, we have a lot of background noise. And I think that will help. So if we have a lot of people, it can get difficult for some folks if they don't have a strong signal, and not having everybody on video helps with that. And not having everybody on with their microphone on helps a lot. So please be sure to keep that off unless you're called on to speak, and then you'll be unmuted. And you can turn your video on so we can see you.
Jackie, just one quick question.
Sure.
Is Sarah the moderator or the administrator, or are you? Because I'm wondering if the administrator has the ability to mute everyone.
She does,
Okay,
and it is Sarah.
okay.
Thank you. And yes, I have been doing that. And so, Pam, you are on the phone. If you want to say something, press *6 to unmute yourself. Give it just a second and then start speaking. But that's, yeah, I think I've got everyone else muted. I cannot unmute people though. So please make sure you know where that feature is if you want to speak. But Jackie, I will help you just so everyone can hear. Make sure everybody stays muted.
Thank you, Sarah. And the other thing, when we vote, or if you want to speak, if you look for the raised hand symbol, and you can do that. If you can't find it, just turn your video on and raise your hand. But you'll move to the top of my page if you do the little icon raised hand. I'll show you what it looks like. So if you look up in the corner of my box, there's a little raised hand, and it will actually give us a number of which is the order of which hands are raised. So it'll help us when we have questions to call people in order. So everybody gets a chance to talk. And then you can just go back to that button and lower your hand. We'll do the same thing when we're voting. If you can't find the hand, then you can turn your video on and just raise your actual hands. Or if you're two people, turn your video on so we can count both of you. Because you can only raise one hand on the icon. Okay, that's all out of the way now. First thing we're going to do is the election of the NKN CAC secretary. I'll give you a little bit of background. Back in last summer, we elected 3 officers, which is what our bylaws call for: a chair, which is me, a vice chair, which is Amy Bell, and a secretary, which was Mary Roberts. Mary had some conflicts with continuing as secretary, so she had to resign after our October meeting. And so we appointed, as the leadership team, with her agreement, Terry DeSaro, and she has served as an acting secretary since Mary resigned. There's Terry. So now it's our first general meeting since that appointment. So we need to elect a new secretary.
Yeah, Barbara.
I'd like to call for nominations from the floor. If anybody would like to nominate themselves or someone else, if they've agreed to serve, would you please raise your hand? I see one raised hand. Anybody else? Amy?
I'd like to nominate Terry DeSero to continue in the post.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, having one nomination, we're going to do a vote. And please do vote. We need a majority of our attending members for the vote to carry. And be patient. If you have your icon raised hand, that's good. Then you don't have to sit there with your hand up for while we're counting through. Right now, we're at 5 pages of people. And then, but otherwise, turn on your video now and then raise your hand when you're ready to vote. Okay, so all those in favor of Terry, please raise your hand using the icon, or if you need to, you can turn on your video and raise your hand. Again, if you're more than one person, please do it on your video, and both people vote by raising your own individual hands. Okay, all in favor, again, please raise your hand. This is for the secretary position for the CAC, and Terry DeSaro is the nominee. Amy and Terry, please let me know when you have a count.
I have 26 people with their hands raised, voting yes, or voting
Okay,
in the affirmative.
thank you. Amy, did you do a count?
Well, quickly, let me ask Margie and Bill Bars, are both of you voting yes or? Okay, so that would be 27.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah, that's what I got too.
all right.
Oh,
If everybody would lower their hands, please. Otherwise, we're going to count you as no's. Is the screen clear, guys?
No.
Not just yet.
Okay, let me know when it is.
Let me help take hands down for you.
Thank you. It's good to have a helper with controls.
Well, they keep moving. They keep moving on me. Here we go. Just a sec. Let me get that one and that one. Okay, I think they're all lowered.
Okay. Any opposed to election of Terry DeSaro to continue as our secretary?
I'm not seeing any.
Thank you.
Same with me.
Okay, 27 yays and no opposed. I should have had a motion. I apologize. Sarah, do I need to go back and do a motion?
No, I think you're fine, Jackie. I think we had a good process and it's recorded. So unless anyone else feels differently, I would say you're safe to.
Okay, then the motion carries, the motion that wasn't. Terry, congratulations. You get to continue as our secretary.
Thank you very much for your trust.
Thanks, everybody. All right, moving on. We are fortunate today to have Chris Laity, who is the Director of Tillamook County Public Works and Roads, to take his Saturday morning to come share some information with us about the new transportation plan and other things that he wants to update us on. Chris, the floor is yours.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
So ask Jackie if she can hear you.
Jackie, can you see me? So let's try that. And then I am going to. So what do you see on your screen right now?
I see the agenda.
Okay, so let me change my setting here. I don't do a lot of presentations, so bear with me for just a minute here.
Well, we thank you even more for
I will stop sharing. I'm going to share.
Jackie, give us just a sec here. I'm trying to help him get this up and running. They changed some of the format for us internally that we haven't seen before, so we apologize and appreciate your patience.
not a problem. Ketzel, would you please mute yourself?
There it is. You're good in your life.
Okay. All right, so this, the agenda item is talk about the transportation system plan. And to do that, I think, I was asked to, provide a little bit of information on what the road department is. So we've got the first little introduction on who we are. So what do? We have a lot of information. We've got gravel roads, bridges, we have a lot of equipment, vegetation management, signs, emergency response, levees, buildings, etc. So with that, a little bit by the numbers. We have 368 miles of road, of which 14 miles are local access road. So the local access roads are kind of unique. They're under county road jurisdiction, but we don't maintain those roads. We also manage 4,000 culverts. ODOT across the entire state manages 40,000. So we manage essentially 10% of what the entire state of Oregon manages. We have one bridge per 3 miles of road. When we are fully staffed, we have 6 crew members plus the foreman that maintains everything from Highway 6 all the way up to Clatsop County, and 7 members, crew members plus a foreman that maintains all the county roads from Highway 6 south to Lincoln County. That's when we are fully staffed. We have difficulty finding commercial driver's license employees, and these are the ones that drive the dump truck. This is not unique to Tillamook County. This is unique across the entire industry. Definitely every single public works are in the same boat. When I say public works, go back to that one. By public works, we are roads and bridges. We do not have water and sewer. So we are simply roads, bridges, anything that's related to roads and bridges. Where's the money come from? As you can see here, almost half of our budget comes from the state motor vehicle fund. So when you look at what's been happening at the state level with the gas tax, which is the state motor vehicle fund, that's significant. We'll see a little later on, but our forest revenue was, we are quite a bit higher. That's been supplemented with our transient lodging taxes, the new federal timber. Federal highway, last time they raised the gas tax at the federal highway was 1993. So quite a bit of difference there. State highway fund, and this is the majority of our money. It's 50% of our property, or 50% of our revenue. If you notice, property taxes are not in the funding mix for the road department. Road department does not get property tax. We get gas tax. Nobody else gets gas tax. And by gas tax, I mean the state highway fund, which is all the taxes you pay at the pump, including with addition to heavy trucks, weight and mile tax, driver vehicle registration, etc. So how does it work? Every time you buy gas, every time that you register your vehicle, every time that you do weight mileage, which is really primarily target, which is really your commercial trucks, all that money goes to ODOT at the state level. 50% goes to ODOT, 30% goes to counties, and 20% goes to cities. The formulation, the equation that is, how does the money get down to counties? It's based on the number of vehicles that are registered in the county. So if your vehicle is not registered in the county, you're not contributing to the road department unless you also run a short-term rental. So when you look at 50% of all the property tax statements in Tillamook County goes out of county. So we got a lot of people that live in Bend, that's their primary address. We have people that live in California, that's their primary address. We don't receive any of the money that goes for that. So your vehicle needs to be registered. But because 50% of property taxes go outside the county, we are essentially potentially 50% shortcomings in revenue that we used to have. So if you have a vehicle, registered vehicle in Tillamook County, each vehicle contributes about $80 to the county road system. So when you look at the state of our roads and you start looking at some of these other roads, so Tillamook County was built on timber money. Everybody was very familiar with that. Timber money went away. And then there was a gap in time where we really didn't have short-term rentals, but we also lost our timber. So timber revenue is, we don't receive state timber. So state timber is, if you think about in Tillamook County, a good chunk of our county is the Tillamook forest. The Tillamook forest is a state timber. We received money on federal timber. Federal timber is the Siuslaw National Forest, which is in the south part of the county. And why is this important? We stripped out the gas tax. So when you look at that from a road point of view, roads are generally, we look at those from a 20-year cycle, a 10 to 20-year cycle. So what happened 10 years ago and 20 years ago directly impacts where we're at today. Roads don't depreciate, they don't fall apart over a single year. They fall apart over a 10-year period. So if you look, this one is 2024, fiscal year ending in 24. 10 years prior to that was 2014. At that point, the timber was not contributing a lot of money and there was no TOT. So over time, this has been replaced. So back in 2012, 13, 14, there were significant layoffs in the road department. We're still scrambling to catch back up to that. If you go back just a little further in the early mid 2000s, this number was significantly higher as far as the revenue, which also goes back further in time. So 1989, we had 50 people. We owned our own asphalt plant. We made our own asphalt, the quarries. We pretty much had entirely self-sufficient. Take that to now, where we have in our road crews, 6 people to the north and 7 people to the south. By a drop. So storms obviously is a significant impact. So currently, we also had the December storm in 2025. So in that particular situation, the December storms of 25 cost $6 million worth of damage to our road system. Our operating budget's $5.5 million. So we rely heavily on funds from FEMA and from federal highway in order to patch the system that just got damaged. So when you look at, again, 5.5 million, and now we've got to deal with Wilson River Loop east-west here in Tillamook, that requires 10% of the project cost for that. So $2 million to repair that. And so 200 grand automatically has to go to that in order to, it's currently closed. So it's one of the major roads in Tillamook that's currently closed. The rivers undermine the road. So these are expenses that are not anticipated. Although if you look back at time, you can start seeing, if you go back to 2006, you can really start seeing the frequency of these events. So 2025 is where we're at here. The FEMA is not actually declared yet, but we anticipate that any day now. So impacts to storm, we start looking at PCIs, or pavement condition index. And what that is on a scale of 0 to, you go from a scale of 0 to 100. 100 is a brand new, we just built the road. So we had received so we're still seeing federal timber, or the federal timber had really started to decline here. But the bond was passed, which really allowed us to start gaining traction. And as that bond was passed, and when that depleted, then short-term rental started coming back online. So what we can see here, there's always a delay too. So the dots every 2 years are when our conditions are actually looked at. You can see some of the back-to-back events that caused, a drop in our pavement condition. So I want you to notice back in 2008, our pavement condition inventory was at 46. We've been climbing quite a bit. We're pretty much the only county in the state, including the highway department, where our road conditions are improving. Pretty much everybody else, the road conditions are dropping. So one of the things to kind of pay attention to is you look to the neighbors to the north of Clatsop County, you look to the neighbors to the south of Lincoln County. They both have less miles of road, about half the number of bridges that we have, and they generate a lot more money because they have permanent residents there. Take a look at Astoria, and you take a look, it's not just in the urban area, rural area, it's also in the entire county. How many county people do you have? We really don't have a lot. Again, 50% of that contributes to us. So we started with 46. We are now up to 61. These are measured every 2 years. So December of 26, we'll have current numbers. So we're going to continue to see that increase, even though storm damage hits. You hit the storm, you've got the instantaneous response. We go through the process of going through some design to do the major repairs. And then a couple of years later is when we start building things from a previous storm event. And we actually saw that from, we just actually finished the 2015 storm damage. We just finished that the summer of 25. So these things sometimes take a long time. That got hung up on environmental issues. So moving forward, we have a consultant every 2 years goes through and take a look at that. We saw previously that our road condition our pavement condition index goes back to 2008, which was at 94. There's my cursor. And we continue to increase. This is a little misleading because roads depreciate or they fall apart every single year. And then you pave it and they fall apart, and you pave it and they fall apart. So in 2004, we saw the 62, which was measured on the ground. And then that drops down to 59, which you can see there, as that's a normal decline. So what we'll see at that point is it's a projected decline. Does not include the pavement work that we did in summer of 26 or 25. So that number will actually continue to go up just like that projection. It's a little misleading. So we have different classifications of road. Arterial roads, collectors, all the way down through the process. So when you look at our arterials and our collectors, these are our main roads. So we take a look at Miami Foley, which is that runs parallel to 101. And then you take a look at Sand Lake Road. These are the roads that are 55 miles per hour, carries a fair amount of traffic. And these are the roads we can't let deteriorate too far. So kind of looking a little bit more specific at some of the communities. So in the communities, this is the NKN area. Green is good. If you recall, Beulah Reed was recently paved. If you go back a little further, the Indian Gap area was fairly recently paved in terms of asphalt. Right, so you're looking at an asphalt of 10 years, or you go back to 20 years. So that's that. So we do have a number of roads in there that we know are bad, that have been looked at, and how do we address these? So Treasure Rocks is one, James is another one, Sunset coming off of Highway 101. So these are, some of the roads that we're specifically looking at. So people ask, well, Chris, so in a normal situation, we develop a 5-year and a 3-year capital improvement plan. That's normal, that's conventional, that's standard. When people ask me, can I get on the paving list or something like that? The common response, or my stock response, is tell me what happened during the winter. So I have a hard time projecting out 3, 4, 5 years as far as the paving condition when I don't know what the storms do. So again, December of 25, last month, we had $6 million worth of damages. So how does that paving, configuration lie? So my average budget, my annual budget is $5.5 million. And I dedicate $1 million that goes straight to asphalt as much as I can. And that's why we've been able to be very aggressive. And again, we're one of the few, we're the only county that's actually seeing an improvement. I'm not sure about I could be wrong there. Deschutes County might actually be increasing. I know Hood River, which is another fairly popular destination, they are actually decreasing. And you look at Clatsop and Lincoln County, their pavement conditions are decreasing. And when they decrease, it costs a lot more money to bring up. If you take a look at the state is looking at laying people off. How does that impact us? Well, we laid people off already. So any additional money that would be generated by the state legislature is money we haven't had. So we're not losing any money, but we would stand to gain. In that particular situation, if it was how it was originally passed by the state legislature before before the referendum, that would have generated another $1 million of revenue for the county. Significant. So how do you compare with different communities, right? So this is the NKN area. This is Bayside Gardens. And again, red, bad, green, good. This is Twin Rocks. This is just south of Rockaway. This is Oceanside. This is the Netarts area. And I did have Oceanside. So just looking at the north, all this money for paving competes against culverts. It competes against bridges. It competes against guardrail. It competes against storm damage. It competes against signs. One thing I didn't say, there are 7,000 signs that the county maintains. So going through that process is not only that. So every towards the end of February, March, I pretty much have a good understanding of the storm damage. I have a good understanding of where FEMA is going to contribute to, or federal highway to contribute to that. Bridges, right? We can't really let bridges go into the red. These bridges are load rated. Some of these bridges were replaced last summer. So those are national highway bridges. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that. And I'm going to go to stop sharing here.
Should we put the tone? There you go.
There we go.
There we go.
So you should be seeing my face right now. So when we start looking out into the future is we know by the numbers, I'm a professional engineer, so I'm very data driven. And, you know, I also anticipate, I try to set aside some money in every year in order to withstand the brunt of storms. As long as we don't have a catastrophic storm event, you know, we're still going to continue to increase. So
Chris?
again, of the 5.5, yeah,
Oh, sorry.
okay. Of that $5.5 million, we are putting down $1 million worth of asphalt. Priorities for that are those major roads. And then the priority for that also is the match for FEMA or federal highway. Federal highway are these larger roads. They are part of the federal aid system, which is eligible for federal highway. If a damage were to occur, like Wilson River Loop happened in that particular case, $2 million, we pay 10%. And then if it gets to the point where we can't resolve it within 270 days, then federal highway and ODOT take over. FEMA project, which is a lot, all your roads up there would be FEMA. We pay 100%, and then we would be reimbursed by FEMA. FEMA has not declared yet, but those are only part of it. So the bigger part of that is more of a longer term projection, and that's the transportation system plan. In the transportation system plan, this is the date in which everybody in the community gets to say, these are my priorities. These are some of the things that we need to do. Trails oftentimes comes up. The focus on the transportation system plan in normal context is that they are looking at really the signals. It's capacity issue. If you're driving to Hillsborough, Beaverton, how much capacity, which intersections are getting overwhelmed? Do you put a stoplight in? Do you put a roundabout in? That's primarily the purpose. On the coast here, our population significantly increases. Oceanside, or excuse me, Pacific City, which is also unincorporated, that is managed, all the roads there are county public works. So from Highway 6 south, including Oceanside, or excuse me, yeah, including Oceanside, Pacific City, Neskowin, all that is county maintained. So in that particular situation, the 7 guys down there, if we have 7 guys, again, we have trouble finding people, they would maintain all that. So we rely heavily on grant money. So trail systems, things of that nature, we try to go after funding. We do private partner relationships significantly. Trail Keepers of Oregon, community group in Oceanside in county, teamed together and built the short trail beach, the short beach trail. So transportation system plan is where we kind of identify future projects that we would like to see. And Neskowin, or excuse me, Neoconi and Falcon Cove, your neighbors to the north, are scheduled for an online open house meeting where people can say, hey, here are some of the things that we want to see happening. So Thursday, March 19th, 5:30 to 7 o'clock, Sarah will be pushing out better information through the CACs. So the transportation system plan is being effectively routed through the CACs, and congratulations for forming this type of group. This is the best way for us to share information. So CACs are really, those are Sarah's world. If you look at your agendas, those are typically land use component. The county road department does not really typically intertwine with the CACs. We work with the CRAC, and I did not come with the acronym, but it stands for the County Roadway Advisory Committee. So we meet about once every 2 months. Next Monday, we actually have a meeting. It's online, it's in person at the county road shop in Tillamook. And there's usually, there's an agenda just like this. So once every 2 months, we go through there. At this point, it'll be really talking about the storm damage and current status of, the budget. So that's a very quick overview. And probably open it up to questions. And you're the first CAC I presented this stuff to. So if I'm missing some information or you would like to know more about it, let me know, and then I can make some adjustments for the other communities that we are working with, such as Netarts and Oceanside and et cetera.
Let me look real quickly here. I'm trying to get the first person. Hans Kretschmer. Hans, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you if you're talking.
That now. Can you hear
that
now?
work?
Yes.
Oh, great. Hi, good morning. This is Pam. Thank you so much for your time and presentation. Extremely informative. I was wondering if you could look at the map. I've got a couple questions for you. One of them is where Beulah Reed sort of hits Ocean Road by the North Creek. The beach is eroding to a point where it's very close to this main arterial road. Who will be responsible for patching that roadbed when it succumbs to the ocean and the king tides?
We'll talk about Goal 18.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So Pam, we actually have good morning, this is Sarah. We actually have a similar scenario that is actually played out on Sand Lake Road, which is the road that connects Tierra del Mar to Pacific City. If you guys know where that is along the ocean shore. And Chris and I are actually working with ODOT, Oregon Parks and Recreation, because they have jurisdiction on the beach, which is, similar, same scenario, Neocani. And Chris was able to secure funding through ODOT for us to do the permitting and the work. So to restore that right of way and stabilize the bank, we're actually working together. We're just getting ready to wrap up the permitting so that work can start hopefully this summer or fall. But there is a process to do that, and it would be a team of people, including Chris and I, coming together once he was able to secure funding to do that work.
When would you like to put that on a plan? Do you want updated photographs of that area?
So we have that. We also have eroding rivers that are chewing into the roads. So this erosion is not unique. I'm aware of that. We get Sand Lake Road. So Sand Lake Road is one of our major roads. So when that happened, it was around December of 23. County went out there and rapidly deployed. So why we try to save money. And rapidly got out there. We ended up closing that there was detours, right? It was a 20-mile detour, but we did close. We had to keep that one closed for about 2 months in order to do some repairs that would open it up to a single lane in order to get traffic routed through there. So we worked with ODOT, but with Federal Highway. So if the road starts to get damaged, that would be, county roads. So this is why we try to set enough money off to the side so to handle these type of situations. The question comes to, do we lose a portion of Miami Foley Road, which currently has 3 locations where the river is trying to eat into that road? Do we lose a portion of Wilson River Loop east-west, which we did? And that shut down, that road is currently closed, but there's an easy detour. When you look into that situation we will assess that with everything else, but that would be a county road jurisdiction.
So
But we would also have to work with OPRD because they own the beach, manage the beach.
yeah, thank you, Chris. I think what Pam may be trying to ask is, where is the trigger point? So the community is concerned. This is an areas we know there are limited access routes throughout Neocani, especially when you start going up the mountain. Where is the trigger point to where monitoring this these erosion concerns turn into some sort of action by Public Works. So maybe it doesn't get to the Sand Lake Road situation. Is that right, Pam? Is that kind of what
Yeah,
you're
that's-
asking?
Yeah, yeah.
So the trigger point to that honestly is when the road actually becomes impacted by that, or it is determined that the road is no longer safe. Because we are dealing with all these other storms, it is, you know, and it's a horrible way to say that, but it's almost budgeting per storm, right? Who gets damaged first? What is the priority? And that changes each and every single year. So it's just, these are some things that we continue to monitor. And we had to shut down Trask River Road. That was kind of, that one was unexpected. Sand Lake was unexpected. Wilson River Loop, we knew that was going to come about, but we didn't have $2 million to fix that. So in your case, we would continue to monitor it. If at some point we felt that it was getting to the point where it was no longer safe, then we would be working with the commissioners to declare an emergency. And that allows us to tap into, you know, that allows us to make some rapid deployment and repair these. You recall, we shut down Miami Foley for 10 days and we built a bridge in a 10-day period. So what fails first is really oftentimes becomes a priority. What happens when you live on the coast and you have storms every single year back to back to back. So honestly, it's a horrible thing to say, but it's what comes first in failure. What
So,
failure
and-
happens
and
first.
A follow-up question on that is about sending photographs of things. On Upper James Road this winter at our big storm, there was a small landslide slump that moved soil into the ditch and then water was flowing out like, you know, fire hydrants from this new creeks, and it started to flood a neighbor's property. So a local contractor moved that soil away from the ditch, which is now just sitting there. Do you want a video of this? Can we submit you images of what's going on there?
I just need, you know, so when we only have so many people, we find out about that by people calling our road, you know, our office. Right. So we don't have a staff that monitors Facebook. We just don't have the people. We don't have the people that PUD has. Pretty much every time you're seeing PUD get called out because of wind events, the road department is out there at the same time. We just don't have that. So how do we know about that? We know about that for two ways. One, the locals call us up and let us know that, hey, there's a slide out here. Otherwise, we'd never know. The other one that happens too is we get called by 911. So during the winter, we're out pretty much every single weekend in the middle of the night trying to take care of these things. When you hit a storm, you know, we're working 18, 15, 16-hour days in order to do that. So the answer to that is you can't send us photos and images, but a simple email that says there's a slide on James Road, please, you know, address. Slides that are blocking part of the lane or they're impacting, you know, storm water. Yeah, the only way we know about them is for you to call us and calling is the best way. So we have in our call process, we have a layer 3 deep. It's pretty rare to call us and not actually get a person on the phone. So it rings at one person. If they miss it, it goes to a second person. If they miss it, it goes to a third person. So we're pretty good at answering the phone. There are rare times when it does happen when we're not there. We work Monday through Thursday, and that's a 10-hour day. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we don't work. And that is primarily based on daylight, right? So it's also based on, we have to drive so far. So when we have to drive a distance, I spend a lot of time just driving to get to the site. So when I only have, you know, 4 days, it really gets a lot more work done than it is under a 5 days. So we actually are more productive by working 4 10s than we are 5 days. But call us, and if it's not, leave a voice message if it's on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. If it's an emergency, call 911. And they will call us out. And it's frequently, pretty much again, every single weekend, we get a call from 911. So we have a formal process in which they send us out.
Fantastic. Thank you.
We have a question from Mark Murray.
Chris, thank you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Chris, thank you for your presentation. When you were talking in the first part of the presentation about your revenue, you referenced a number of times short-term rentals. Can you, I have forgotten, can you or Sarah just remind me, how does short-term rental fees or flow to you? Just quickly.
Sure.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning. So Chris's funds for roads do not come from short-term rental license fees or short-term rental operator license fees. Where Chris's fees come from is the 30% of the transient lodging tax that's collected. And that was established by the voters, so that the condition of our roads was one of the driving forces for the county to bring to the voters a transient lodging tax program. And if you recall, there's 70% of the revenue the TLT collected has to go to tourism promotion. 30%, the local jurisdiction can decide with voter approval how to allocate those funds. And at that time, because we had some of the worst rated roads and bridges, we had the worst rated roads and bridges in the state. The commissioners in 2014 brought to the voters that all 30% of transient lodging tax would go directly to roads.
Okay, thank you. So the short-term rentals contribute to the transient tax and you benefit from that.
Correct. And I would say well over 2/3 of all transient lodging tax collected countywide are from short-term rentals, because obviously we're not like Lincoln City where we have several hotels and motels. So that is where the lion's share of that revenue comes from.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Now I get it.
To follow up a little bit on that, timber pretty much did everything. And as timber went by the wayside, we went from $8 million to right now we're about $2 million of revenue from that. So the $8 million not inflation adjusted is gone, which maintained everything. And then it's been replaced with short-term rental money, transient lodging tax. People ask, what are the things that we can do to really improve the road? So Representative Cyrus Javity is going after in the state legislature is attempting to can change that split so that 70%, it gives the commissioners some more flexibility on where they put their money. If you look at the sheriff's department is they don't get any short-term rental funds. Their 70% has to go to tourism. Well, we already have tourism. So the desire from everybody is saying, can the commissioners have more discretion in which to dedicate funds? The road department, the sheriff's department, et cetera. So House Bill 4148 is the bill that Representative Javity is bringing forth to change that percentage so that the communities, us, Lincoln County, Clatsop County, Hood River, Deschutes County, that are heavily impacted by tourism during the summer, this allows the commissioners more flexibility to put the money where they want to put the money, not targeted towards tourism, advertising, and et cetera. So one of the biggest things that you can do to help our county out is support House Bill 4148, provide testimony, et cetera. That's going to be the biggest impact to Tillamook County that you can help us out with. The other thing that is often, because we don't have a large budget. Again, we're losing about 50% of our revenue from gas tax. That's been somewhat offset by the short-term rental, the transient lodging tax. Is we do enter into private public partnerships frequently. So Nesco had approached me to can we work on their roads? So they ended up hiring the contractor, and we as a road department purchased the asphalt. So essentially, we paid half the cost to get those road paved. We do with some communities, these unincorporated communities, we work with them to provide gravel or some asphalt or things of that nature. So we do try to encourage private-public partnership. Because that's really how a lot of these things are getting done. Now, Nesca is a bit of an extreme circumstances, but they were able to generate a lot of money, which prompted this. We do have some development where we've had the developer pay for the contractor to do the work, and we bought the asphalt. When you look at us to do paving, we have to merge all of our county road employees plus our mechanics in order to staff a paving operation. So even if there's money for paving, we don't necessarily have the manpower to do it. So we encourage these type of relationships.
Thank you, Chris. Jeff Hoffman.
Hi, Chris. This is Jeff Hoffman. I'm president of the NKN Meadow HOA. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Great. We currently have private roads. They sit behind gates, and maintenance is funded by HOA dues. Our reserves are fully funded. The board is stable. The HOA is in great shape. So this is a hypothetical question. Let's say that wasn't the situation, and for some reason, the HOA needed to dissolve. Is there a process for the county to take over maintenance of the roads and ditches?
No, they're private roads. County would not be involved at all with those.
Okay, thanks. That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Colleen.
Thank you for taking my question. My concern, going on Pam Green's further her testimony about the issues on Beulah Reed Road, is the area that is being eroded is basically the only thoroughfare for the majority of residents up to Lower Neocani and Mid Neocani, where the other roads that you were talking about, like Sand Lake and Miami Foley, has the highway to be an alternative for these areas, for these residents. We don't have that. If that area is cut off by erosion, the road going away, Mid Neocani has no access. And so, is there any way of looking to prioritize these roads that have no alternative access?
Yes, the answer to that is yes. So one of the instances in this particular case is Trask River Road. So Trask River Road was it is the only access up the canyon in that particular case. So it slid. We opened that road up pretty fast for that situation. So when we start prioritizing roads, it's not just about what is the worst road out there. It is about single lane or single access entry points. It is about, the size of the vehicles. It is about emergency response. So the single access roads, the one way in, one way out kind of roads do have a higher priority. We're not just looking at the color red on a map. We are taking into account those type of roads.
Chris, would it be helpful if they wrote to the County Road Advisory Committee?
Won't hurt.
Okay. So maybe Jackie, we can get you
Nicole.
So you would email Nicole Baldwin at Tillamook County Public Works, and that testimony could then be shared with the CRAC.
Right. Monday is CRAC, is our once every 2 months. So I would encourage you, if you're going to provide an email or some photos or videos or whatever have you, is to submit those prior to Monday morning. So you've got Saturday, Sunday. A lot of it right now is, what does the summer look like? What does that look like? How do we manage the budget when we don't really have a lot? And how do we deploy our forces? So yeah, absolutely. The single one way in, one way out roads are prioritized.
Thank you for answering that. The only other comment I was going to say is, like Pam Green said, taking a proactive stance before it does fall apart is, it would seem the logical thing to do. But, I know you have to work within budget constraints and everything, but it just seems once summer comes and that may be the situation.
And why I 100% agree with you. If I could be proactive in all of our locations, I would not have to respond to all the failures. Problem are failures are happening faster than we can be proactive. So it's the simple truth of the matter. Yes, we'd like to be proactive with it. But the reality is a storm hits and that changes our entire, again, this 2025 had more damage than my entire operating budget.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Thank you very much for your response.
Thanks, Colleen. Next is David Boone.
Thanks, Chris, for the presentation. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
I'm writing down a little bit more notes about the Mulery.
Sure. Well,
slide.
I'll let you finish writing.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. As I'm sure you're aware, in Neoconi, Beulah Reed Road and actually Nehalem Road, we don't have walkways. So people, basically tourists, residents, whatever, if they're walking from point A to point B, they're on the road to walk. The speed limit now on Beulah Reed is 25 miles an hour. On Nehalem, it's 30. And the signage on Beulah Reed, basically there are two signs on speed limit, one right at the intersection with Nehalem and the other clear up at the top of Beulah Reed. So I'm wondering if there's a possibility of a couple things. Number one, getting more signage, speed limit signage to remind people. And number two, potentially decreasing the speed limit to 20 miles an hour on Beulah Reed and maybe 20, 25 at most on Nehalem, because you're getting traffic coming off of 101 off on Nehalem, and it's going downhill, and people drive fairly fast, as frankly they do coming down hills on Beulah Reed. So what would be the process in potentially, assuming the community wanted to do that, in trying to implement that sort of thing?
So let's talk about the trails first. So Nehalem Road does get a lot of pedestrian traffic on that, and for us to install a trail or really widen the road up too much is that would require us to purchase right-of-way. We would have to buy additional frontages of people's property. And as you know, because we widen it and then the ditch needs to scoot over and that starts taking buying land from people. We just don't have the money. But I would encourage you to, when we go into the March 19th meeting for transportation system plan, 5:30 to 7 o'clock online, is to make that one of your priorities or ask that for that as a priority. We have looked into that stretch right there. We do know that there are some significant issues with that. We've actually explored it a couple of different times. When you look at speed limits are set by the state. So we have regulated speed limits. So if you are a commercial district or a school zone, we can lower your speed to 20 miles per hour. If you are not a commercial zone or a school district, then we can't lower the speed lower than 25 miles per hour. So there's some statutory requirements that we need to meet in order to reduce the speed below 25 miles per hour. And it's at a state level, because when you're in one community on the eastern side of the state and you come to the western side of the state, the expectations need to be similar for all parties. In the transportation system plan, I have asked the consultant at ODOT to specifically look at pedestrian bicycles and vehicles. How do we improve the safety? So I've been very focused on getting them to pay attention. Our biggest issue is the traffic during the summer. So that is one that I've explicitly asked for them to take a look at. Transportation system plan is 100% funded by ODOT, and they hire a consultant. The consultants are very good, and they do this type of work in other communities. So to lower the speed, it requires a statutory change in our federal or state policy. The additional signs. So one of the things to put out there is, when you look at this, we actually go out there and we'll do traffic counts, and we also take a look at speed. So we've been, again, very data driven, taking a look at these. And we'll find that people that are actually driving in a 25-mile-per-hour zone are in these type of communities are actually closer to driving around 20, 22 miles per hour. It's really more the norm. When we put a speed limit sign that says 25 miles per out there, we often see actual speeds increase. Because they know at that point I can drive 25 miles per hour. They're people drive as fast as they feel comfortable driving. Putting a speed limit without enforcement really doesn't do a lot. It doesn't actually alter the way they drive. Putting in a sign that says that you can drive 25 miles per hour when you're only driving 20, 22 miles per hour, which is really the norm, we actually see speeds increase. So every time we add more speed signs, we're taking a look at that from a slightly different perspective than maybe the residents are, but we're doing that with hard data. But we'll look at additional speeds on Bueller Reed and see our speed signs to see if there's something that can be done there.
Yeah, okay, I appreciate your comment about the state. I think our anecdotal experience is, I disagree with that, your observation that people drive less than the 25, than the posted limit. I think anecdotally, it's people drive 10 to miles an hour or so faster than the posted limit, particularly coming down hills, because it's a fairly hilly area, and it's easy for speed to pick up going down a hill and don't really appreciate it. So I guess one of the questions additionally I'd have is, what's the possibility of getting some of the electronic speed monitoring signs, so just to alert people?
So my generality speaking on that 25 miles per hour was general. It wasn't necessarily speaking specifically about Nehalem or Bueller Reed. That's just general. So I said I'll take a look at the speed on that one. Oftentimes the perception too is the closer you get to the vehicles driving, the faster it appears perspective that they're driving faster. And the closer you get to the vehicle, they are driving way too fast, or it becomes a safety issue. As far as a speed sign, it's a request to the sheriff department. That is something that, hey, we've got repetitive. And they respond to those really based on how many people are reaching out to it. But one of the hard truths to this is, and we've seen this everywhere, and I can't speak specifically to Bueller Reed, but I see this everywhere. The people that are doing the speeding the most are the locals. So when we work through the sheriff's office and we work through everybody else, it's the locals that actually do the majority of the speeding. And we do tend to, and I was actually surprised by that when we started looking at the hardcore numbers. So again, very data driven, but that's what we see. And the enforcement is effective in that particular case. It is not effective when you look at weekend trippers, day trippers, because they don't know that these things are commonly come out to the beach. What's a $10 ticket or whatever the ticket is. And you have to have a sheriff there in order to issue that. Those speed trailers are effective. And that's a request to the sheriff's office to do that.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Hans and Pam.
Hey there, it's Hans and Pam again. Just as a follow-up to that, I'm not sure, just for the record, our community of 400 homes has over 80 short-term rentals. And these are full of, families with kids, and they're taking strollers and large groups of people down Nehalem Road or down Bueller Reed Road. And, I understand this buying, right of way, but I believe some of the right of ways are actually wide enough, and that you guys do vegetation management. We have blackberry vines coming down so close to the road that people literally just walk in the roads. And you combine that with a 25-mile, 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, it's not a good mix on Nehalem Road in particular. And we can take pictures of families with their strollers and the vegetation, and but Manzanita lowered their speed limit to 20 miles an hour along Ocean Road, which is a great big straightaway, and they do enforce it. And so everybody's very careful there. It would just be nice to have people be as careful, especially with all these visitors from out of town. So I'd just like to say that. My second question for you is, do you by community divvy up your budget, and like, how much does it cost to maintain Little Neocani every year or historically over the years, just so that we can get an idea of what our community costs?
Okay, so I can, so I'm gonna do a couple of things. The city, speed limit at 20 miles per hour. So I'm not entirely sure how that city does it because it does not match state law. Now, the city might have passed a local ordinance if they could, I don't know. At our level, we have to follow state law. The city may have a city ordinance or whatever that is. Nehalem, as far as the Blackberries encroaching, telephone calls to us requesting, that to be pushed back. We do try to get out there. Sometimes we're not as fast as we would like to get out there and mow those back. We used to spray, weed spray a lot of places. But one of the problems with that is that the outpouring of hatred and vitriol about spraying in these type of communities is something we stopped spraying. For a variety of reasons. There are some places where it makes sense, and other places it doesn't make sense. When you look at that, got blackberries, kids want to eat the blackberries, so we don't necessarily want, weed control product sprayed where the kids can eat the blackberries, but we also need to do that. So one of the things, a focal point is better vegetation management. We also need the staff, which we're trying to get. So vegetation management, if you drive down the highway, you'll see these John Deere tractors that look like they should be on a farm, and they mow the side of the road. So we've been looking very hard to find a better solution. So we've had 3 mowers. Most of the time they're broken. They go in the shop to get fixed. We just recently purchased a dedicated mower, which is going to do a better job mowing, and it hopefully will actually speed up and be more productive. So that's brand new. We received that about 3 weeks ago. I mean, literally. So this has been not just there, it's a focal point everywhere. If this one is if this one does deliver, I actually went in there, I drove it around just to get a feel for it. It's very intuitive. But again, that's 368 miles of road, with 3 mowers that break down frequently, and we brought a new one. If we like it, we're going to try to set aside money for another vehicle. We've looked at a variety of these things. So dedicated mower is something that we just purchased about 3 weeks ago. It arrived. So trying to make that improvement. We know that that's a shortcoming that we've got a mechanism to fix or improve.
So then the second part was just, what does our little community cost on average, historically over the years, or as you budget looking forward?
And I don't have the answer to that. I have not looked at that at the granular level to see, where that is. Oceanside has asked that question in the past, and we went back through and made a determination on how much was actually spent there. Mm-hmm. So I have not looked at the granular level in the Neocani area.
It could be done though?
We can do it, yes. But I'm not going to commit when I can do that. But it's something that it did take a while for me to find the time to go through and do Oceanside, but we haven't done that in Oceanside.
Awesome. Thank you.
Keeping in mind that money also it competes against these major roads. Keep in mind, it also goes towards bridges and culverts and signs and guardrails, labor. So more than, my labor cost, I'm looking about $3.3 million out of a $5.5 million budget, of which we spend $1 million in asphalt.
Thank you.
So Chris, so we talk about blackberries, the desire of the community to look at safer walking paths and trails. And it sounds like on some of these roads within road right of way that may be possible with a little work. How does that tie into the transportation system plan updates we are working on with ODOT right now?
So it really doesn't. When you look at these transportation system plans, they're primarily focused on capital improvements. Trails is a capital improvement, right? So that's a good one for that. The maintenance side of it and how we've addressed some of the maintenance things in other communities, that's that private-public partnership, is we get into some locations where we just can't get there. I mean, the actual 5 guys now that are maintaining everything from Highway 6 north can't get to every place. So oftentimes we've seen in some communities where it's not just about that, but it's the time to manage these contracts. So we do have some we contract out for vegetation management. But they're the ones that we hire, they're way out in, where if they shred everything and it's not good, we're not landscapers. And we're not going to pay for landscapers. But if there was a desire and willingness and a participation, private partnerships, which I'm a firm believer having come out of the private sector, is, there's an option there that the road department and CAC could potentially partner up to take care of those type of situations. So those are standalone, independent conversations that I'd be willing to interact with and think about and see, is there a way to do this outside of the county forces? We don't have the time to do. We just don't have the bodies to do it as much as needs to be done.
Dave Boone.
Yeah, Chris, when you're talking about blackberry mitigation and control and talking about spraying, that becomes an issue. I'm on the water district here, and
Right.
Clearly spraying is an issue because at least for one of our springs, it's not really clear what the watershed is for that spring, and certainly probably Upper Beulah Reed Road is part of that. So any sort of spraying, an upper part of Neoconi, well, frankly, we'd like to know about any type of spraying that was contemplated, the water district would, before any of that was instituted in Neoconi, just because of the watershed issues that we have for our springs.
Right, and it's been probably over 10 years since we sprayed in that area. And we have no desire to spray up there for exactly that reason. It's not just about people eating the blackberries. So yeah, we don't spray and nor we haven't sprayed in probably 10 years, although I'd have to look at the record, but we have no intent or desire to spray moving forward in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mike Wooden.
Hi, Chris. Mike Wooden. All the stormwater here moves through open roadside ditches. Does the county have any kind of strategy of maintaining these ditches? They tend to get clogged up with vegetation and filled up with sediment because everything's moving downhill, and a good place that gets piled up with water often is Treasure Rock and Beulah Reed and that whole area. What's the strategy of dealing with that?
So unfortunately, we're very complaint driven. And when the ditches are filled, it's a request to us, telephone call to do that. It's to clean the ditches. If you looked at trying to clean the ditches countywide, I would need to double my staff and every single person.
Chris, you frozen on my screen anyway. I don't know about others.
Yeah, mine too.
Oh, yeah,
It looks like I gotta hold on.
Oh, there you go.
Let's see if that pops in. How about now?
You're fine.
Okay. So the reality is if you take a look at it, Portland gets 46 inches of rain a year. That's their annual. Tillamook County gets 88 inches of rain. So we almost double the amount of rain that Portland gets. So I've actually looked at this number as far as what would it take for us to keep up with the ditches throughout the county. And if we were to clean the ditches, I would need to double my road crew staff, and I would need to work every single day throughout a year of the actual working days. Now, 4 days a week, throughout the entire year, and I still could not clean all the ditches out. So unfortunately, and this becomes the culverts and things of that nature. So that is very complaint driven. And it's a phone call, and we put in a service request. We take a look at that and priorities with other things. If in the Bayside Gardens, we went through about a year and a half ago and did a focused effort to clean all those ditches and clean out all the culverts to do that work. So this is something that we do, but it's it's unfortunately, it's pretty complaint driven. The strategy is what's causing the most damage? What is that? How does that rank in prior to everything else? So again, the 5 guys that are currently that are maintaining everything from Highway 6 all the way up to, the county line, which is near the tunnel. We just don't have the people.
Chris, this is a quick follow-up on your own property. If you decide you want to do some ditch cleanup yourself, but you're on county right of way, is that a problem with the county if we're maintaining our own ditches on our own property?
We encourage you to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I'm not seeing any hands raised.
So I'm going to double back with that one briefly. So some communities have a action partner plan, some type of a small community, or they've got a team of people. Is when you get into that, some of these things are, and it's really these unincorporated communities, right? Where they have a group of people that will go out and do some of this type of work. They're really, the people have a tendency to, and I don't know why they do it, because they're mowing the lawn and all the lawn trimming is going to the ditch, which doesn't really make sense to me. But we have worked with some of these local volunteer groups in order to try to improve these situations. Anytime we can get twice as much done with half of our people, which doesn't actually work out, but you know what I mean, is we are very firm believers, and that's the public-private relationships that I'm a huge fan of, again, coming out of the private sector.
Mm-hmm. Terry Maragos.
Hi, Chris and everybody. Nehalem Road has been mentioned as a problem road. This is the main access, except for Lanita Avenue, from 101 to the beach. It gets very heavily traveled, especially in the summer. And there are numerous potholes now, which are being enlarged because people can drive 30, sometimes 35 miles an hour. And the locals may know where the potholes are, so they avoid them. But if you're not familiar with the area, you are going to hit these potholes and make them worse. There is also a case of a slump in the road, which is going to be a big pothole if anything isn't changed. What are the plans for at least fixing the potholes, if not repaving Nehalem Road?
So a couple things, I've made a note on that, but the question kind of fires back to you a little bit. Have you called the road department to say, hey, we'd like to get these potholes fixed?
I have done that.
Okay.
I have.
So when we do that is, I don't know how long ago you did that, and I'm not making excuses for that, but number one, call us in, which thank you for doing that. And two is we look at that priorities with other locations. The higher speed roads do take priority, so I will follow up with the foreman. Our North County foreman started on December 16th. So the North County foreman has been on the job for less than 2 months. So we've got a new guy up there, and I will flag this for him to take a look at. But the process, call it in, we take a look, the foreman take a look at these complaints versus everything else. And then he prioritizes the time out there on the ground on where to put that. The other thing that we also recently did is to try to improve the pothole situation, which we never will. It will never get it to where there's never a pothole. That's just unreal expectation. But what we have done is try to not just put the cold mix in it. Cold mix is literally what it is. It's cold, and you throw it in there, and that's a pothole fixer, and it lasts for maybe you'll get a year out of it. So we also recently purchased a hot box, which is you pour hot asphalt into a trailer that gets dumped out. And the hot asphalt actually lasts a lot longer. That is tied to when the asphalt plant runs. And it's also tied to, do we have the staff to do it? So we know that was also another issue, just like vegetation, and we bought the appropriate equipment to help us do it. We just got to find the time to do it. because when you put that in the ground, it lasts a lot longer.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Barry and Barb.
Hi, Chris. Oh, there. Thanks for the presentation. It's very interesting. It's been helpful. Along the lines of people walking down like Reed Road and various places around Neocani, in order to keep them off the road, pedestrians off the road, how hard would it be to put some gravel in? In some places, there's a drop off, which is really bad for the road itself, of about a foot. Some places, I mean, there's some very steep drop offs and it's actually quite dangerous.
And I would just add that it's specifically where people pull off and park, like the trail down to the beach, and at the lower end along the dunes where people park. So those are constantly used by people, and somebody is going to break an ankle.
Yeah, and this gets into, it's not unique to Neocani. It is Falcon Cove all the way down to Savage. Our southernmost road, you have to go into Lincoln County and then come back north in order to get to our southernmost road. So if you're down by Highway 18, you have to get all the way down there to get back into our southernmost road. Also has the same problem. And this is where the encouragement through the transportation system plan, and that would help us prioritize that type of work. So adding the gravel, widening the shoulders and things of that nature are strongly encourage you to add that to the transportation system plan.
Mm-hmm.
And be specific on locations on which you would like to see. You live there or visit there frequently, everything that you know your neighborhood much better than the road department does. You know where the problems are. So the transportation system plan, there will also be a week-long open house. And it's not, if you can't attend that meeting, and Sarah will get the website links out there that you can be targeted in specific areas.
Right.
I don't know if that map will be up at that point or not.
It will,
How-
and we just, sorry, go ahead.
How would we let you know where the locations are? Would we paint them or describe them by address or?
I would describe them by address, so when you look at that, it's paint just doesn't last on the ground that long. So describing that is the best way to do that. And it's like, okay, it's Buellary, approximately this section. If we can do that here, that would be a priority. Nehalem, we know that there's an issue with Nehalem, but the transportation system plan, what that allows me to do, which is odd to think, but our road department gets a lot of grants. Because we have culverts that are large, they're failing, they're in bad shape, they used to be bridges, and we go after grants. We're very successful with that. But having things in a plan, when we go for a grant, we say, this is a priority for the community. It is written. That really helps us to apply for grants. So writing these things into a plan is significant. Not to say we're going to get a grant, not to say there's a grant available with ODOT being in this mess that they're in, how does that impact our grants? And it's hard to say. But having it in the plan does two things. It identifies an area that you have a priority on to help us as you compete against all the other communities and bridges, etc. It also being in the plan helps to strengthen the case to get grant money.
Thanks.
Hans and Pam.
Hey there. One more time. Got another question for you. So right at the junction of Nehalem Road, kind of where it goes to Ocean Road, Buellary Road, there's a little state park. And it's also a drainage way of a big swamp. And we've got beavers in there. The beavers have been clogging up the culvert and flooding the road. And I've called, what's the policy on the beavers?
So that is a very much a known problem, that little Y section down there, just downstream from there. And we do try to break up the dams, and we have beaver problems all around there, and they cause all kinds of havoc on the storm drain system. So there is a program called APHIS that brings in there's a couple ways to do that, to actually get rid of the beavers. we bring in the federal government through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to actually trap or relocate or kill beavers. Generally, it's trap them and relocate them. In our area, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, as of about a year ago now, has a beaver specialist that can help with that. So we have asked for their help at that specific location because this is a known problem, and it causes, we have about 4 locations throughout the county that are repetitive beaver problems. That is one of the 4 locations that we have problems with.
Thanks.
I'm not seeing any more hands. If I'm missing you, please speak up. Okay. Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate you taking your time today. I know weekends are precious when you're working as hard as you guys do. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to, present and discuss and help to identify these things. That was an hour and 15 minutes to, that amount of time from you is because you guys care about your community. And congratulations on forming the CAC, because when a request is made from a CAC, in addition to the individuals, that helps to say, from a community perspective, these things are important. And it's, trying to, which we can't necessarily help with because of funding or staff. You'll keep hearing that from me, but it's as we have time available. And I think with our new foreman, he's not only looking at, when he goes out there, he's not only looking at this, let's go fix this. If he can, he's also trying to, when he brings the crew up there, trying to take care of some of the peripheral problems. So, with kind of a focus to how do we improve and get more done from a productivity point of view. So my hope is we're cleaning up storm. We're going to be cleaning up storm damage for probably another month. So thank you for your listening to me.
We will we'll follow up with the community as the CAC and see what we'll try to put together a priority list and provide some feedback to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a very interesting presentation. I appreciate it. It's important for us to know where the dollars come from, what the manpower available is, and help set our expectations a bit on.
And I encourage everyone there, if you haven't registered, if you don't have a vehicle registered in Tillamook County, and you can, every single vehicle is $80 of registration. So, that is a significant benefit to us if you add them all.
Good to know. Appreciate it. Okay. Next on our agenda is Sarah providing us with some updates.
Thank you, Jackie. You hear me okay? All right. Good morning, everyone. Just want to kind of wrap up just a couple of the transportation things as they relate to CAC work. So when Chris is talking about the transportation system plan update, so Jackie, Chris and I have been working with 2 groups. We've got a technical advisory group that is all of your local, state jurisdiction, federal jurisdictional folks, and the alphabet soup of state agencies that also have a stake in this program, in this process update. And then the other are communities that are participating in this, and that includes NKN CAC. We just got all of the dates finalized for open houses, community engagement, and outreach this week. So you will be getting an email from me very soon. It'll include when we are doing the community meeting for NKN, where you can come and talk about visions and what you guys would like to see for trails, vegetation management, etc. So this is a multimodal focused plan update. And then there will be a week-long virtual open house. So I'll make sure you get the link to share with the community on that. And that is where you can go in and just talk about anything road related that will get back to Chris and Public Works and ODOT. So because, you know, the highway system obviously plays, you know, into what you see in your local streets and system as well. In terms of feedback also for grants, so we have two plans. One is this transportation system plan that Chris is talking about for grants, etc. The other thing is the NKN community plan, which is the land use document that we have talked about updating, right? Because it hasn't been touched since it was developed in the 90s. When we go through that plan update, one of the things that we will want to keep in mind, because there is a transportation element to the community plan, is we will have an opportunity to update policies and statements in the plan that also support the work that Chris is talking about to go get grants. So we are in a really good position to work on two documents to make sure that the voice of the community is heard, and then Chris can leverage that when he is going out and applying for grants. So they are two separate documents. One is wholly transportation focused, nothing else. The other, the community plan, is land use, which will touch on a variety of things and has a specific transportation element in it. So good work and good opportunities ahead. Chris also mentioned House Bill 4148. That is the transient lodging tax bill. So Representative Javity, we just got the number on that bill again this week. So please track that bill. You can track that through the Oregon Legislative Information System Database, or OLIS is what it's called. You can also Google it or reach out to Representative Javity, his office, for more information. If you just use the Google search engine on the internet, I would put House Bill 4148 2026 legislative session, because every year there's a House Bill 4148. So you might get last year's House Bill 4148 or 2023. So make sure that you also put in the search engine, it's for the 2026 Oregon legislative session. Okay, you want me to go ahead, and I want to be cognizant of everybody's time too. So how about if I just roll through a few updates really quick, and then Jackie, we can take any questions. Perfect. Okay, and I do want to thank Chris for being here today too. I really appreciate his presentations. I learn something new every time as well. Let's start with the code enforcement program. So we've made a lot of traction on the code enforcement program. Those of you that may be on social media and follow the Tillamook County Sheriff's Office Facebook page, you're going to see a lot of stuff start rolling out from Sheriff Brown on our coordinated efforts for enforcement and updating our enforcement program. These include community development, Tillamook County Public Works, and Tillamook County Solid Waste. I would say probably within the next 4 to 6 weeks, as we are incrementally stepping in, we are addressing, we've started addressing cases that have great environmental or transportation or public safety concern first. So you're going to see some of those cases on his Facebook page, on the Tillamook County Sheriff Facebook page. And so as we start working through and addressing code enforcement complaints and concerns, those will eventually start showing up in other areas that don't have those environmental or safety significant concerns first. But we've started. And that's the exciting news, is that we actually are implementing our new program updates. So more to come on that. I have the ordinance done for the Tillamook County overall code enforcement plan that encompasses all of these other departments and programs. I am working on final reviews with county council. We did get a new county council starting January. Bill Sargent, who has been our longstanding council, retired for good. So we are working with new council on getting any finalized touches that we need before I bring that to the Board of Commissioners for a public hearing and adoption. The next step that we've already started is then going back to individual department ordinances. So I've got land use, building code, on-site sanitation. I am working on those. We are looking at public works' ordinances for driveways, unpermitted work and road right of way, etc., and then the solid waste piece. And so the steps that we are starting now is refining and updating those individual ordinances, because we cannot enforce effectively the overall county ordinance program without also making sure any necessary updates are also part of these individual department ordinances. I will keep the CAC informed on that so that you know when all of those are coming forward and what they look like. In terms of middle housing, all of the middle housing work for the required code updates by the state are done. That includes any final notification, reports, and paperwork I was obligated to turn into the state. Many of you, or most of you, all of you should have received the Measure 56 notice for the NKN decisions. And the appeal periods for that process, I believe, have ended. So the board did vote to adopt the findings and the retention of the existing height limits in the NKN community. With that, Jackie, I think one of the things that we should finalize as part of this work is the land use subcommittee, and then dovetailing into that, the short-term rental subcommittee, because I'm ready to resume that work. So I don't believe we have formal committees appointed for each of those, or is that something that we're ready to do and get started?
We are ready to do that on the land use committee.
Okay, great. So if you email me the names of the committee members that you have appointed to formalize that committee, then I will send everybody a calendar availability request this week. And then we will dive back into those other development standards to help address community livability concerns that were left open-ended from the hearings. And then the other piece of that is the community plan update process to start that work. And then with that, I actually have a variance request for the NKN community. And so I will be sending the land use subcommittee, and Jackie, I will send you a notice of that variance request once we get through the completeness review process, which I think should happen in the next 2 weeks. So I have it on my notes to confirm with staff when they will be sending out that variance notice. The variance request is for a set of stairs that encroach in, that run across through the property setbacks and down along road right of way. It's a property on Indian Gap Road. So it's not a building height. It's not that type of a variance. The variance is required for the set of stairs, and they have already been constructed. Which, if the variance is not approved, obviously the property owner will have to respond to that. But it is the variance is required because the stairs encroach and run through that required yard setback, which I believe is the rear yard. Public Works is also looking at the proposal. They've submitted an application for an encroachment permit. So when you have encroachments in county road right of way, you're also required to get an encroachment permit from Public Works to keep, to have an encroachment in the road right of way. And so part of the review that my staff and I will do for the variance is also to wait to see if Public Works approves that encroachment permit. So the notice itself goes to all property owners within 250 feet of the subject property. So if your property is close to Indian Gap Road, you will receive an individual letter from my office. If you are not close to Indian Gap Road, because we have a CAC now, Jackie, I will send you that notice to send out to the membership at large. And anyone can comment on this proposal. Once the notice is sent, there is a 14-day public comment period. And the notice will also tell you who to submit comments to. So it'll be by email, or you can write us a letter. The only thing is you are certainly most welcome to call us to talk to us about the application, but to have your comments count in the public comment period, they have to be submitted in writing, either by letter or email to the office. And then the letter will also have the website address of where you can go see the entire application on our website. So those of you that followed where we posted things for the Neocani Middle Housing Code updates on the land use apps page of the community development homepage, this application, because it's a land use application like the code updates, it will actually go on that page. So those of you that are familiar and know how to get there, that's where it will be posted, and it will be posted with its own application number, and should be pretty close to the top because it'll be one of the newer ones that we're posting. So happy to visit with the land use subcommittee also about that when you receive it, but just for something like this, it is a 14-day public comment period, so it does move pretty quickly. So then the other update I have regarding the short-term rental. So one thing that I did, my performance evaluation as community development director falls with the board at the end of every year. And one thing that I do is I submit a work plan to the Board of County Commissioners, which, like Chris and Rhodes, can change. It's very fluid, right? If there's something that comes up, an emergency or a priority statutory deadline or obligation, I too am constantly adjusting my work priorities in response to those things. But I did have on my work plan for this year, working with the Neocani CAC to reevaluate the cap for the number of licenses for short-term rentals available in your community. They have given me the authorization to move forward with that. So, yep. So right now, Neocani has one available license. So there is no wait list in Neocani. You have one available license. But during that time visiting with the board about my work plan, I did visit with them about the strong desire of the community to reevaluate that cap and look at a lower number. So, Jackie, we are ready to start that work as well. So whomever is on the STR subcommittee for Neocani, if you want to send me those email addresses, I will do the calendar availability as well.
And anyone who, we've increased our membership significantly from,
That's
I'm glad to
exciting.
say, it is exciting. Since our October meeting, when we asked for volunteers for the STR committee, and that is just looking at changing the cap. It's not revising the ordinance, or it's a short-term ad hoc committee, and it's to help us figure out what the community wants from that standpoint of an STR cap. So the membership has grown from 107 to 178 since our October meeting. We're very excited about that, but I'm still encouraging all of you to please encourage your Neocani neighbors and friends to sign up. We can't communicate with you unless we have your contact information. So it's really important to go to nkncac.org. So basically neocanicac.org, and it takes a minute to click on there, fill out the form, and you're done. And then you'll get everything that Sarah's been talking about, information from the county. You'll stay informed about what's going on, and you'll get all of our meeting notices. So everything's open to the public. and certainly to the members. So if you want those notices to come right into your email so you don't miss anything that you're interested in, please sign up to be a member. On the short-term rental committee, we have volunteers. We have not finalized that because I wanted to leave that open while for additional people to volunteer if you want. So please let me know. You can email us at admin, ADMIN, at neocani or at nkncac.org. If you don't get that down, just go to the website and it says contact us, click that, and I'll get your message.
And Jackie, if I could add to that, so today's meeting, I will have staff post on the NeoConnie webpage where we all went to get the information for this meeting today. I will have this presentation, this meeting posted. So if folks have missed it, they can come back and watch it. And I will make sure I get Chris's presentation to post as well. So if you had a hard time seeing some of the information on some of the slide decks, you'll be able to just go straight to that deck and see some information if you had a hard time viewing it.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions of Sarah? Colleen.
What is the current short-term rental here in NeoConnie cap?
What is the current cap? You know what? Let me tell you that. I have that right here. Hang on just a sec. For NeoConnie, the current cap is 86 licenses. So right now you have 85 active. And Jackie, I am also, so on that note, I am preparing a status update for the board on the short-term rental program. As you know, we've had a lot of changes that have taken place over time. Some of those rolled out with a specific time frame. At the next meeting, if that's something you would like me to present on, I'll definitely do it to the STR advisory subcommittee first, but I'm happy to do that presentation to the community at large at an upcoming meeting too.
Another question, we have a neighbor who applied for and got, but has never used it as a short-term rental. Is there a kind of a gray area where there's an inactive thing, or is that just considered a license, an ongoing license?
Thank you, Colleen. That is an excellent question. So that is a really good question. So the county rolled out in 2025 provisions that those property owners who have short-term rental licenses, that the property licensed must be rented a minimum of 30 days throughout their cumulatively throughout their anniversary year. So if the license was is a February to February roll as an anniversary year, a combined total of 30 days has to be rented to be eligible to renew at the following February. That is not 30 consecutive days. It is 2 here, 5 here, 6 there, right? Because it's that short-term rental, transient rental activity that is not long-term renting. How we verify that is through transient lodging tax receipts. So every quarter, if you have a short-term rental, you must file a quarterly transient lodging tax form. And one of the boxes on that form is you must verify the number of days rented. So I work with Tom Steiber in our office, who is our transient lodging tax administrator, and we pull all of the transient lodging filing records before we send out the renewal notice to everyone that is in that month for their anniversary, their annual renewal. Sometimes, in addition to the renewal notice, they get a separate letter from us that says, our records indicate you may not have rented 30 days. You need to call our office and talk to Tommy. And that letter goes out to everyone in that anniversary period that we are concerned did not meet that rental obligation. Sometimes it's resolved because the transient lodging filing deadlines do not align with everybody's anniversary year, right? So Q1 may end, but your renewal is midstream of Q1. So the people may have rented and we just haven't seen that on a filing report yet because those two deadlines aren't synced. If they can prove to us that they have met that rental obligation, then we can renew their license. If they have not met it, then I do not renew their license. So if you're concerned about, if anyone in the community is concerned about someone who may have a license that is not actively renting, or you just want to know if they've met that obligation, please reach out to, you can reach out to Tommy in our office who does the transient lodging tax, or Paige or Lynn. I think many of you know who Lynn is. So Lynn, you can reach out to her and we'll be happy to let you know what our records indicated about that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm not seeing any further questions. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Jackie.
Are there any public comments? These are all public meetings, and so you don't have to be a Nia County resident or a property owner to attend our meetings. So if there's any comments from the public. No hands raised. I will then call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all so much for spending your Saturday morning with us. Really appreciate it. And a big thanks to Sarah and Chris for taking their time this morning.
Thank you, Jackie. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Jack.